This is how I make my Poolish bread, which is pretty much a white bread. So first, 500 grams of bread flour. Eighth of a tablespoon of yeast, instant yeast. Gonna mix it all around. And then you're gonna pour 500 grams of water at 90 degrees. And then you're going to mix it really good with your hand. So once you have it all mixed together, you're going to let it sit 12 to 14 hours. So I like to do it at night. So in the morning it's ready to go. So this is about 12 hours later. And as you can see, it's nice and bubbly. So the first thing I'm going to do is get 500 grams of bread flour, pour it in a separate bowl. Then I'm going to add 21 grams of sea salt. And then 3 grams of instant yeast. Mix it around with my hand. You're going to take your Poolish and you're going to put 250 grams of water at 105 degrees. You're going to pour it over your Poolish. This is going to loosen up the Poolish so we can pour it into our flour and yeast and salt mixture. You want to pour it around the edges so it loosens it up better. So next I take that Poolish and I'm going to pour it into my flour. So once you have that Poolish and flour all in the same bowl, you want to wet your hand. That way the dough doesn't stick to your hand. And you're just going to mix it just like that until it's all mixed together. You're going to use the pincher method and then fold over and pinch. So once you have everything all mixed together, kind of like that, you're going to let it sit for another 2 to 3 hours. It's going to rise again, and then it's going to be ready to divide it, and then we'll be just about ready to bake it. Okay, it's been about 2.5 hours, and it doubled in size. So now what we're going to do is we're going to empty this dough out onto the counter. I'm going to flour up our hands so it doesn't stick. Put a little flour on the countertop, and then we're going to divide it. So now that I have my flour on my counter, my hands are all flour, I'm going to gently just grab it. So next, it's time to divide it in half. So I kind of like to put it in a kind of a rectangle, little, you know, and just you can weigh it. I usually just eyeball it. And that's it. Now I got 2 pieces. Put that one on the side, this one right here, and then I'm going to form it into its dough ball. So another thing, once I start forming it in the ball, this is the seam side right here. So you want to flip it over, have the seam down, kind of cup your hands a little, pull it towards you, make it into a nice ball. So next I get my the little proofing baskets, and you want to put generous amount of flour in there so it doesn't stick. You grab your balls, your dough balls, seam side down, just like that. Second one, seam side down. Next, you're going to sprinkle a little flour on top. Cover both of them, either with a towel or these little covers. And you're going to let it rest for an hour, and then you're going to be ready to bake it. The bread is all done. You could do the little finger test where you press it, and when it comes back up, that means it's ready. So for the last 45 minutes, I've had my Dutch oven inside the oven heating up at 475. So I'm going to pull the Dutch oven out now, and I'm going to place my dough inside the Dutch oven, and then we'll put it back in the oven for it to bake. So I sprinkled a little flour in there in the Dutch oven. It's really hot, so you want pot holders. So what I'm going to do next is flip this over. And now we're going to place it carefully. Well, I like to plop it down in there. Another little step you could do, you could grab your little scoring knife and you could make a little design in it. My next step is to carefully put the Dutch oven cover on top, because remember, it's all hot. Then I'm going to put it in the oven, and it's going to stay covered in the oven for 30 minutes. And then we're going to take the cover off, and we're going to bake it for an additional 20-25 minutes. So this is pretty much it, and now it's just going to bake. So for the first 30 minutes, it's going to be covered. And then I'll show you what it looks like when I uncover it, and it bakes for an additional 25 minutes. So this is what the bread looks like after 30 minutes. So now with the cover off, it's going to brown a little more. And you're going to let it bake for anywhere from 20 to 30 more minutes without the cover. Usually around 25 minutes. I like to take it out. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to be very careful and pull it out, and then I'll put it on a rack to cool. The bread right out of the oven. It's still pretty hot, but it smells so good. It's time to cut open the bread, and let's see what we have. Perfect.